Max flashed his high beams to signal that he was going to pass, but when the light hit the truck, something unsettling happened. The entire vehicle seemed to shimmer, like it wasn't fully solid. For a moment, Max thought his eyes were playing tricks on him, but then the air in his cab grew colder again, and his gut told him something was very, very wrong. He pulled into the left lane to overtake the truck. As he did, he glanced at the driver's side window, expecting to give a quick nod to the other driver, as was common practice among truckers. But when he looked, his blood ran cold. There was no driver. The cab of the truck was completely empty, yet the rig kept rolling down the road, as if guided by some invisible force. Max slammed his brakes and veered back into his lane, his heart pounding in his chest. He watched in his mirrors as the ghostly truck continued on, its taillights growing dimmer and dimmer, until they finally disappeared into the fog. What the hell was that? Max muttered to himself, his hands trembling on the steering wheel. He reached for the radio, hoping to hear another trucker's voice that might ground him in reality. But all he got was static. The radio, which had been working fine earlier, was now dead. Max pressed on, his mind racing with what he had just seen. Had he imagined it? Was it a trick of the fog? He didn't have time to ponder for long because, just a few miles down the road, he saw those same red taillights again. This time, they appeared out of nowhere. No gradual approach. No headlights in the distance, just there. Max's hands tightened on the wheel as he realized he was dealing with something far beyond his understanding. The truck was back, and this time, it wasn't ahead of him, it was behind. Its headlights flooded Max's mirrors, blinding him. He could hear the rumble of the engine, but it didn't sound like any engine he'd ever heard. It was deeper, more guttural, like a growl from some ancient beast. Max floored the accelerator, pushing his rig to its limits. His heart pounded in his chest as the phantom truck gained on him, closing the distance with every passing second. He could feel the weight of its presence, as if it was hungry, stalking him like prey. The fog grew denser, and Max's rig began to sway under the pressure of the speed. The road was winding now, and he knew one wrong move could send him careening off into the canyon below. But he couldn't slow down. He didn't dare. As the ghost truck drew closer, Max could see more details in his mirror. Its headlights flickered like dying stars, and the front grille looked like a twisted, deformed mouth, grinning with malicious intent. The air inside his cab became freezing cold, and Max felt like he couldn't breathe, like the truck was sucking the very life out of him. Suddenly, without warning, the ghost truck rammed into the back of Max's rig. The impact jolted him forward, and he fought to keep control as his truck swerved dangerously close to the edge of the road. He could hear the grinding of metal, the screech of tires, but there was no physical damage, just the overwhelming force of the unseen. Max screamed, slamming his fists on the steering wheel, desperate for an escape. Then, just as quickly as it had appeared, the phantom truck vanished. No screech of brakes, no flash of taillights, nothing. It was as if it had never been there. Max pulled over to the side of the road, his entire body shaking. He sat there in stunned silence, staring into the fog that seemed to mock him with its emptiness. His radio crackled back to life, the familiar sound of static filling the cab. He grabbed the mic and called out to any nearby truckers. "Anyone out there? This is Max Larson. I just had an encounter. Anyone?" There was a long pause before a voice crackled through the static. "You saw it, didn't you?" The voice said, low and grim. Max's heart skipped a beat. "So what?" The phantom holler. "You're lucky you made it out, friend." Most don't. Max didn't respond. He just stared out into the fog, wondering how many others had met that ghostly rig and how close he had come to joining them.